Okay. Alright, hey guys, so welcome to an episode of the Half Natty Scene, and today we're going to talk about a variety of topics. We've got a few actual listeners' questions come in, so we'll roll through them first initially, and then yeah, we'll take it wherever it goes. We tend to blab, me and Valentin blab a lot on these, and we do fairly well, so
yes.
With Kevin here as well, we'll probably do even better, I think. Which would be good. So, Kevin, for anyone that doesn't actually know you yourself, just give the listeners a little bit of a wrap up as to sort of who you are, where you compete, and yeah, where you're at.
Kevin Stutz, from Austria, and I'm 27 years old. I'm competing like for 5 years now, 5 to 6 years.
Sure.
And I started out at the NABA.
Okay.
And then I moved up in 2015 to the classic bodybuilding, to the IFBB. But then I got back to the NABA, and it's the NABA Man 1 class, so it's with height. Sure. And it's like over 180 centimeters, I think.
Yep. And
yeah, I also run a coaching business, online coaching business, and like the shirts we're wearing, the Brutal Work clothing,
yep.
And also a membership site. So that's
what you do.
What I
awesome
am doing.
Stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, cool. So Kevin's pretty much in a very similar situation as me and Valentin, does a similar thing on a daily basis. So yeah, no, it's great to have you here, and obviously it's great to have trained with these guys too. So yeah, we'll rock and roll straight into it. So as you can expect with every single podcast episode that we request questions for, we'll have Ben Broadhurst put in one. I think he was pretty much first to respond to my story. He is, yeah. He's always first watching them,
yes,
and liking them,
yes,
and asking the questions.
Yes.
So Ben, like we appreciate it, dude. We really do. So it's actually a really good question. So this question is both for you and Kevin. So it's what pushes Valentin to stay natural, and what pushed Kevin to use supplements, and how do they view the other side? So how do you view assisted bodybuilding, and potentially how do you feel about sort of the natural side? So maybe sure. Valentin, go first as to what sort of makes you stay natural and not look down the enhanced route.
Sure. I think sooner or later you'll just make that decision, and once you've made that decision, you just stay natural or go the enhanced route.
Yes.
And I think there's nothing wrong with either one. Like I've discussed with Kevin plenty of times. I mean, we are both fans of both sides of bodybuilding, whether it's natural
bodybuilding.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. You really don't make a differentiation there. And when it comes to people going the enhanced route, I think Kevin will probably touch on that. They often make the decision way too early. But other than that, for me, it was I never really considered it because, to be quite honest, I've never been around people that have been enhanced and that were educated enough to tell me about it. So it wasn't really as I learned about bodybuilding, even though I knew about Coleman and Chickamp and all those big names, that was so far and distant away, I never considered taking that route, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
And by now, it's just not an option for me anymore. I don't even consider it in any way.
You want to compete in the natural pro ranks and win world titles. And
exactly, be relevant there.
Yeah.
And that's really it. So I think once you make that decision and stick to that decision, that's really it for you.
Sure.
Really, if you don't consider the other side an option, then it's not becoming an option, right? So
that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Kevin, yourself, your opinions?
For sure, I also don't make a difference between natural or enhanced bodybuilding because we're all doing the same.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, training and progressing, trying to progress everything. For me, myself, I did like, when I started out in 2007, I did like 4 to 5 years in natural bodybuilding.
Ah, I see.
And, but no competitions, actually.
Yeah, but just growing.
Just training, growing, and yeah, as I got older or got into the scene, I just wanted to grow bigger and put my maximum potential. And yeah, that's what got me into supplements or using supplements, and just wanted to grow big as fuck.
Yeah.
That's really the one truth,
Yes.
because I started things. And yeah, as I said, with clients, I do just minimal differences. Valentin and me did a video, unfortunately in German, about the differences between natural and enhanced bodybuilding. But there are not the real highlights, or like I said, the big differences.
Yeah.
You still gotta work your ass off.
Sure.
Even if you're natural or enhanced, it's just when it comes to diet, it's like what to choose. It's a little bit different, or a little bit more difficult.
Sure.
If you're not that, let's say, erfahren, advanced,
Yeah.
yes, in the sport, you need to have a coach. If you do an enhanced prep, I think a natural prep you could actually do if you're really advanced trainer. You could do on your own.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, definitely.
But definitely, it's good to have second eyes. I think.
Yeah.
Always.
Sure. I think that's actually a great point, because I think very often people think enhanced bodybuilding is so much easier. They just think you're supported
So
by
makes everything work for you.
by chemistry, yeah, and it's actually you have to control so many more variables. We control nutrition training and recovery basically. They control nutrition training, recovery, and the hosts do a lot of things, and that just makes it quite challenging, right? To especially during contest prep. If you don't know what you're doing, you can really mess things up. Also as far as health goes.
Sure.
And yeah, so I think that's very common mistake that people make, that they think enhanced is easier.
Yeah, sure. I think, to give my perspective on this question as well, I think it makes a big difference in terms of your environment. So whether you're training in a gym and you're surrounded by a few good natural bodybuilders, and
Sure.
you see that that's possible,
Sure.
you understand that you can compete in a natural show, that drugs aren't just, that it's not just sort of assisted side of bodybuilding,
Yes,
and it's
yes.
not just that, you know, there's another plethora. I think that's important too. So
Sure.
that's partly why I do the content that I do.
Yeah.
It's because I want to level up natural bodybuilding. I want people to understand that if they are a newer competitor, they can do that. At least do it first. Like, you know,
Sure.
like Kevin grew in a natural phase before he decided to go the other route, and that's a big part.
The thing is, the people are moving into supplements too early, always.
Yes, yeah.
It's like we're always telling the people to, like I said, otherwise we're take back the supplements, or just start out when you're really advanced lifter.
Yes.
You really want to do it.
Understand your true potential first, I think. Is especially like, you know, like Kevin, I view yourself as someone that's definitely going to get a pro card in the future. Like that's how I view Kevin. You know, the work you put in and your consistency, dedication to this. You see a lot of people using supplements that aren't consistent and aren't dedicated. They haven't got the fucking ground level of the shit proper, and they think that, you know, taking supplements will get them to a level that you're at. Fuck no, it won't, because you're maximising every variable, and then you're chucking in the final little sort of cherry on the top.
Trying to just to get my recovery better.
Yeah.
I think that's the only part I think about when I think about steroids is just to get my recovery better, to can train more intensely or more frequently. Yeah.
Sure. I think what you said about the atmosphere you surround yourself with, the people you surround yourself with, in my opinion, the ideal atmosphere, the ideal surrounding would be having natural competitors and enhanced competitors.
Yes, I'd like to see
yes, and everybody
like to see
being open about everything.
Yes.
That would be ideal.
Yeah.
Because it's this big cliche that people don't talk about, all the supplement side of things. And Kevin is very open about it, and I think that's as it should be.
And that's fucking
Because everybody gets more educated about it, and everybody knows what's going on.
Yeah, and I also think, so a topic me and my friend, me and Dan Bassett were discussing the other day, it almost annoys me when people brag about being natural like it's some sort of special thing.
Yeah.
I think, you know, like, you don't need to tell people, you shouldn't need to tell people you're natural.
Yeah.
Like, you should just work, the work be appreciated,
That's
and that's it. And like, you don't need to tell people you're assisted either, you just work, you're a bodybuilder, and that's it, you're a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
You're doing it for your own.
Yeah.
For anybody else.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
99% of people don't really fucking care if you're natural.
Yeah, who gives a fuck?
They really don't care. As long as you're not competing in tested shows.
Yeah.
Of
That
course.
goes without saying.
Yeah, but other than that, nobody cares.
Yeah, cool. So Benedict asks a question on our training. So are the three of us typically training in a similar way, or is there a huge variance in your training?
I think probably I'm the outlier for this at the moment.
At the current moment in time. Yes,
because I enjoy the way we train today, for example.
Yeah,
That has always been my approach in the past. More low to moderate volume per session and having a higher frequency.
Yes.
And rotating through sessions like Kevin is currently doing, like have 1, 2, 3 push sessions, the same for pull, the same for legs. And rotating that through like the old dog rep concept, the old DC approach. Where you just rotate through exercise and try to progressively increase push-up numbers every single session. But right now, working with Cliff since the beginning of the year, I've done much more volume. And I can definitely say it has treated me well, but right now I can just tell that the chronically high volume is becoming a burden.
Yes.
It's becoming a problem with recovery guys.
Like any way that you take, if you go chronically high intensity,
Dude,
you're
100%.
going to reach the point.
Yeah,
where you're going to
so
have to rotate.
introducing a lower volume phase will probably be very beneficial and then ramp up the volume again. But you can never, like I said, you can never chronically maintain a certain intensity or a certain training volume. It's just not going to work long term, especially if you're training hard.
Yes.
So that's probably what I'm the outlier here regarding training. But other than that, I think we think very alike as far as training goes. So I don't know about you.
I'd agree on that front. I think in the past I've fallen suit of maybe doing things like the slightly easier route, so looking at, you know, what can I get away with in the gym and walk out and know that I've done the effective dose, but could I have done more kind of thing. That was probably my second proper year of training when I discovered some principles that actually probably set me back a little bit in terms of sort of gathering intensity and things like that. But now moving back towards what I love about training, which is, you know, going out, going after it. That's pretty much, you know, the majority of my sessions. I'd say the only thing, like we did a leg session today, the only thing that I'd probably do a bit differently in that setup was something that Kevin was talking about earlier, in the fact that I'd take my accessories and I'd lower the intensity down on them slightly and accrue more volume.
Definitely.
So like, you know, instead of 2 sets, I'd probably maybe do like 4 sets and leave a rep in reserve and just accumulate a lot of blood flow in the quads kind of thing. What about you, Kevin? Are you pretty much in agreement on that?
Yes, for sure. I agree with all the points. So, as I said before, it's like putting the mechanical stress first and then the metabolic stress in the end of the workout. Is pretty much my style.
Essentially, load, pump.
Yes. One thing you said about doing more volume for the smaller movements, for the isolation movements, that makes perfect sense, because you cannot just progressively train with those movements like you do with a squat or a deadlift. It's not going to work with a standing head curl. So just doing more volume there just makes perfect sense.
Cool. So got a question from Joynal, and he asks, really good question for us actually. At what stage in your lifting careers did you know that you wanted to become an online coach, and how did you start? So we'll take that first part of the question. There is a second part. Battery's just about to deplete.
Yeah, it's a good question, but it's also hard to pick the date to the point where that happened, because it just happens naturally over time.
Yeah, I agree.
And you get more and more into it, and everybody starts out by working out for different reasons. But sooner or later you just get so deep into the whole thing that you might consider doing it for a living. And then you probably coach a few people, do personal training and stuff like that. And all of a sudden you realize, hey, there's online coaching as well. And that allows me to have so many more clients and offer the same quality. And that for me was when I started working with people online, as they coaching me. So like having online coaches, having Cliff, for example, etc. That would mean that I realized that's a real option and I can make money off that. Something that I know about and something that I love. And once that was settled, for me it was all in from there. Sure.
So my opinions on sort of when I started online coaching and when I realised I wanted to be an online coach, pretty similar to yourself, Valentin. I got coached for my first prep in 2015, and I loved that sort of coaching relationship. I loved the fact he was dictating macros, dictating sort of having the check-in process. Like I really, really enjoyed that. So I initially, I think also the big part in what plays the most of the role in people becoming coaches is getting asked those questions in the gym, those initial questions that you get asked from people when you start accruing some element of size, some aesthetics, and some level of strength. Especially if you train at sort of maybe a less known gym, like, you know, for example in here, you know, you have the upper echelons of the sport, you know, so something impressive in here has to be fucking impressive for it to be good. But in my gym initially, you know, like pressing the 40 kilo dumbbells, or, you know, you get asked questions. So that was a big part for me, and then I initially helped sort of some friends, and so I helped one of my closest friends, and actually is still a client of mine to this day, Marcus, and he just sort of followed my prep, and he wanted to do a bodybuilding show, and he actually ended up winning his show, going to WNBF Worlds in his first attempt as well. Although he didn't win it, unlike myself, so I keep killing him on that one. But he's still got a British title, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I initially helped friends, charged very low rates. I'm not sure what you started with, but I was very low cost. Like, I look back at it now and I think, how the fuck did I say that amount of money? Like, that was low cost. And I think that's important when you're initially starting, is just keeping that barrier to entry very low. But not so low that people take the piss. Because you know, I've had people say to me that I'm starting out coaching and charging very low prices, and people are just taking the piss. They're not checking in. They're going to other coaches. They're not following the program. Monetary value, I think, to a degree, like sort of goes or coincides with commitment. So as monetary value builds, commitment should build with it. If the people are maybe not, like, if you're not like a totally serious bodybuilder and you're sort of intermediate advanced, you'll commit more given that you're paying out more. I think when you're advanced anyway, you'll just listen regardless. But yeah, that's sort of my story. Like Valentin said, I didn't really sort of wake up one morning and be like, fuck, online coaching. It was more of a progressive process. You know, questions. Shit, I really like coaching. Let's do this.
Builds up from the questions to the online coaching.
Yeah, sure. What about yourself, Kevin? Like, obviously you trained like naturally for like those 4 or 5 years.
Yes.
Were you coaching in that point, or did you? What did you do before you did coaching?
I did physiotherapy.
University. At the university.
Studying?
Studying for 3 years. And I finished this, but it was not my type of, like I said, I wanted to make a living with this.
Sure.
But I still like to have the knowledge of this one. And can put it with clients when they have some injuries or something. But the coaching stuff started out in 2014, where I was helping a friend too. And yeah, I like just to see the progress of him from the initial point to the prep. And yeah, so I started to charge really low, as you said, because I thought, let's see if this will happen. And because I competed in 2012, a lot of people have known me by this point, and
it's getting that notoriety, isn't it?
And then there were a lot of people who wanted my coaching, and I was really lucky with this. And so I started the business from I think March or May 2014. And from then on it just grew. Great.
Awesome. And I think it's sort of a side tangent, your coach Cliff has mentioned this in a few podcasts. I think the success of the bodybuilder doesn't necessarily dictate the ability of the coach, because Cliff himself actually had quite a fucking hard time getting his pro card, and probably hasn't got the best genetics for bodybuilding, arguably.
Took it about years.
But yeah, but he's a very successful, probably one of the most successful bodybuilding coaches out there for a reason that he's good at coaching.
Sure.
And you know, there's like people like Matt Jansen, we talk about him a lot and we look up to him, and he's, you know, he's a great bodybuilder, but the people he's coaching are the genetic elite. So you question yourself, you know, why aren't the genetic elite coaching the genetic elite? It's because they don't take on board that coaching role.
Yeah,
you know, there's a large difference between a successful athlete and a successful coach.
Yes.
There's only a few people out there that can be both.
100%. You can, for example, I always like to use the example as from the NFL, like football, American football. If you look at the coaches there, most of them have never touched the football on the field. They're horrible athletes, but they are excellent coaches.
Yeah.
So there's a huge difference there.
But I think it's just in the fitness scene where you see somebody and you're admiring him and you're asking him questions. It's like we said, our coaching's built up, and in the fitness scene it's like, you see somebody and you wanna be like him, or you wanna grow muscles like him. And I think that's where a lot of coaches profit from.
Which can be a huge problem.
Yeah. A side tangent to that question as well. What are your long-term plans? So, like, what do you, at the end of this, want to achieve? Like, when you take off natural bodybuilding and you say, okay, I might retire now, what would be that goal for you? Do you know that yet?
To be quite honest, no, because so many things in natural bodybuilding are constantly changing with federations.
That's true.
It's really hard to say because natural bodybuilding like 4 or 5 years ago was so different than it is now.
Yeah, sure.
If you look at the time when Brian Whittaker, for example, we often talk about him, was competing, or when Doug Miller was competing, like 2009, stuff like that. To me, bodybuilding, natural bodybuilding felt very different than it does now, and that's just 9 years from now.
Yeah, sure.
So I have no idea where this whole thing is going. And even though everything is getting more popular, the divisions that are getting more popular are probably not the divisions we are most interested in, like men's physique or bikini or something like that. So the main thing I focus on is just to be as good as I can be with my genetic potential. So don't overcomplicate it or think about world titles or anything like that, but just push it to the limit for myself.
Sure. Yourself, Kevin?
That's the thing for me. Myself, it's nearly the same. It's just, for sure, getting the card, but I don't think I will compete with the card. It's just for the business, I think, to be a little bit wider known as a coach.
Makes sense.
So there is no real lifetime goal, but to have the card is good for the business. As I said, to be wider known, but no real lifetime goal here.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it just shows you how realistic we are about everything, because nowadays people think they get a pro card and they going to the Mr. Olympia next year. It's just ridiculous. So,
I think Joyner knows, because he follows my stuff, my sort of immediate goal is to definitely get my WNBF card. I think it's more for me. I'm very intrinsically motivated by that. Like I want that for myself. I want that achievement.
Sure.
Definitely want that achievement.
Sure.
And I think that's more so to sort of co-sign the fact that I'm a good bodybuilder. Not that it necessarily means that, but the way in which I want to try and earn mine will be earned through a process that almost should definitely confirm that I'm a good bodybuilder. And it almost is like but at the same time, I think I'm very much in line with you guys in the fact that I want to be the best version of myself. And I think the main thing I want people to look at from my perspective is I want people to message me saying, fuck, you earn what you have, because they followed what I do on a daily basis in order to earn what I have. I want people to, if I do earn a pro status, I want them to look at that and think, shit, that guy earned it. It wasn't given to him on the plate, kind of thing. That's the only thing I care about, is for the manifesto of my work to look like I fucking earned it. Not through any genetic potential stuff or anything like that. Like the work counted. That's me.
That's important, yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, nowadays that's probably one of the reasons why I said I have no idea where this whole thing is going.
Yeah.
Because getting a pro cut now is very different than getting a pro cut like 10 years ago.
It is.
It evolves so fast and yeah.
Cool. We all done on that question?
Yeah, sure.
Great. So Luca asks, in a mini cut phase. What's a mini cut?
What's a mini cut? Yeah. Sure.
In a mini cut phase, sure. Perhaps 4 to 6 weeks during a very long off season. Okay, cool. This starts to make more sense.
Yeah.
What adjustments do you do with training in a mini cut phase? Are we fans of running much lower volume phases during mini cuts? Do we change training drastically? What's your thoughts, Valentin?
Don't change training at all. Just keep training hard, try progressive lifts. There's really no magic. Let the nutrition do the work, let the deficit do the work, and I mean, in 4 to 6 weeks, nothing major is going to happen.
Yes.
I mean, if you
especially if you're fat enough to warrant it.
Exactly. If you tinker around with training volumes over a 4 to 6 week period, it's not going to really make that much of a difference. Yeah, exactly. So just keep training as you always do.
I think if anything, during a mini cut, like you'd want to keep training the same to guarantee that you're holding onto the tissue you've earned pushing up.
Yes.
And to coincide with that, off the back of a mini cut, if you say, so let's say you actually do change your training for 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
When you come back after those 4 to 6 weeks, not only are you going to be calorically in a completely different spot, recovery capacity has gone down, the amount of glycogen you have, free flowing glycogen, is completely low.
Yeah.
You've also just stopped doing all the hard stuff and you've chopped out a load of shit, and you're just going to be in an awful position.
Always.
So I think you'd be better off. I think you'd actually be better off if you were going to do anything. My perspective is run 4 to 6 weeks of the diet, keep training the same. At the end of the diet, do a deload, bring calories back up to maintenance, recover the diet fatigue, recover the training fatigue, and then push forwards and go from there. What's your opinions on maybe doing that, like running sort of a brief maintenance week and recovering the fact that you've been training the same in a large deficit?
That's one way you could potentially do it, I actually would like to maintain the same training as long as possible.
Yeah, sure,
you
unless you need to back off.
Exactly, because you can just compare your lifts, and with an improved body composition, nothing should really happen. So, I mean, sure, there's some different weight distribution if you're really losing a lot of weight over a 4 to 6 period, like a squat will maybe feel different or a deadlift, but it shouldn't be that crazy within that time span.
Yeah.
And tinkering around too much with training is not something I'm that big of a fan of. So especially not in this deficit.
Sure.
Your opinions, Kevin?
I think with my clients I do it like this. If I actually need a mini cut, I try to tell them to maintain the strength over the period of time, progress the lifts
when you can.
If they can,
yeah.
But sure, they should be able to maintain the strength, and I think training, I wouldn't switch anything to training.
Yeah, cool. Agreed. Good stuff. Let's move on. Let's pick another question. Okay, pretty simple question, actually from one of my clients, which he will get told this, but he'll get told 3 opinions. So he's asking on show day rundown in terms of food and drink. What would we do for show day, and what variables are we thinking about when it comes to presenting the best look on stage?
As far as food going in goes.
Food and drink.
Food and drink.
And drink.
I mean, at that point, show day, you should already be carved up. You should already be fueled up. I mean, if you have to do drastic things on show day, especially for a natural competitor, that's just laughable because you're not going to do anything.
Not going to assimilate glycogen on the day, really.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like you're carb loading 4 hours before the show and it's going to show. So, as far as that goes, keep water in. Definitely keep water in. Right before people go on stage, I like to have some extra salt for vascularity. Drink just a little bit, but not that much that it might affect the posing. You go up there with a big gut.
And
definitely make sure that you use foods that the client can digest really well. Make sure of that. So don't just give them a list of foods they have not eaten before, but make sure when you're working with that person and when you have briefings with that person that they can really digest the foods you prescribe for and find the week and for show that.
Yeah.
So those are just some broad recommendations, but that's what I usually do, and I think you guys do some very similar things.
I think the one thing that I would add to that, agreeing with every single one of Valentin's points, the only thing that I would add is a reduction in protein significantly on the day.
Yeah.
Meals, if they do contain protein, will be small.
Yes.
Again, just to keep gastric emptying like sort of efficient, or
That's a good point, yeah.
to keep the stomach small.
Yeah.
This guy, for context, is physique. So obviously the stomach, the waist, the abs is very important.
Yep.
We have found through refeed data as well that he does tend to hold a little bit of distension, even with fairly moderate food.
Okay.
So it's about monitoring that, keeping that low. So if anything, he'll be sort of bikini snacking on the day, if I'm honest.
Sure.
And he'll be fully loaded to the point of maximal efficiency before the day itself.
Yeah.
What about yourself, Kevin? Because obviously the loading process for bigger guys, plus 100 kilos on stage, completely different. The food that you eat potentially leading up to show day is quite excessive.
Yes.
What do you do on the show day itself? How does that tend to look?
On the show day itself, it's pretty similar, like Valentin said. You gotta be full on show day.
Yeah.
If you gotta do excessive things on show day, it won't work out because it always blows your stomach out. If you have to eat a lot of foods, digestion is also a really good point. The food you should try in prep at the refit days or in off season, which you digest really well. Only the foods you digest you should take in at the show day. And the loading process is a bit different from the point of we're not going completely out with the carbs, because over the 100 kgs it will be really difficult to digest the amount of carbs in the week prior to load up to the full volume. And but otherwise, as you said, the little salt before stage, maybe some aspirin.
Interesting.
Aspirin pre-stage. And some guys also do Viagra.
Some people do niacin as well.
Yeah, it's not that bad. Or
people get burned through niacin as well. Like get really fucking red, really hot. Black pepper extract.
Should really try this once a few weeks before if you're really in the shape, because you cannot try it out on the show day and then you
fuck shit up.
That should be bad.
Cool.
Sure.
Yeah, no, I think I agree on all of those. Again, like what you said about sort of the pump formulas and things like that, and then aspirin, I think that's really important. Those things can make a little bit of a difference. Again, like with food volume and things like that, sort of faster, rapid digesting carbs are probably key. I like to take highly branched cyclodextrin with me on the day. And Jack Thorburn has a secret trick, which I'm probably not allowed to say on the podcast. But yeah, I'll let you guys know.
Okay.
I can't share it with the millions of views. So yeah, next question. I'll take this one. This is a fairly good one. So from Jacob, he asked about maintenance phases. When would you, or even would you run a maintenance phase? And how would you set it up if you would do one?
Well, potentially after going into drastic deficit, I can see a maintenance phase make sense. There's this whole conditioning for a while there.
In an off-season phase, are we talking about like not the end of a contest prep?
In an off-season phase, I wouldn't really recommend maintenance phases. But after contest prep, that might make sense. Calories up to maintenance, and then try to have the body settle in with that new body set point. But that usually takes quite a while. And it probably gets tricky with most people because the body just wants to get back into a surplus. So maintenance phases, maybe as far as fatigue management goes, have them more in regarding training. where you just maintain training and just continue on with training. But as far as nutrition goes, I either like deficits or surplus.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just change the magnitude of those.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me as well. It's like I think maintenance phases or minicut you could use to get your appetite up again. This is the one thing
Makes sense,
I want to say for the enhanced ones, because we're taking the food up pretty high, or even the over 100 kg bodybuilders. If you have to eat like 6,000 to 7,000 calories every day, it's a good way to do those kind of maintenance or mini-cut phases.
Yeah.
Just take a little bit back in calories, and you will profit from that.
Yeah.
Really good.
Agreed. Yeah, I think what we were talking about earlier as well, off camera, like insulin sensitivity.
Yes.
And things like that, you know, in the growth phase, when you're hammering carbohydrates,
Sure.
you can start to see diminishing returns in terms of body composition.
Yeah.
So when you're starting to see that, maybe a phase of maintenance just to sort of increase your sensitivity to nutrients again. Maybe you're getting better pumps.
But then again, before going into maintenance phase, to improve insulin sensitivity and all these things,
You're going to need to be like in a deficit.
I'd rather
Yes,
go straight into a mini cut.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Improve it even more,
Yeah.
and then ramp things up again.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, with maintenance phase, you're just losing time.
Yeah. I
Essentially,
think
you're
so.
losing time. So I want to avoid that at all costs.
Yeah, I think the other, and this sort of maybe comes in line with people that aren't looking for maximal physique progression,
Yeah.
is like people that have found a comfortable level at which they want to just stay, and they want to sort of see good training benefits,
Sure.
but they don't want to maximally chase progression. They don't want
Sure.
to push the boundaries.
Sure.
Of course, maintenance phases, but if you want to, I think what we're saying, the wrap up is sort of if you want to shortchange your progression, run maintenance phases. Because you if you want to go one way, like improve markers and things like that, get better pumps, insulin sensitivity, get in a deficit.
Yeah.
If you want to diet for any specific reason, you're going to have to hop into a deficit. I think we're pretty much agreed on that.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think the one thing we could mention is for people who have like jobs like which are pretty
Hard-working jobs.
jobs,
Manual
and
labor.
they're
Stuff,
taking like the maintenance phase to pull off the stress a little bit.
Yes.
I think that's the only thing where maintenance phase is
Sure.
good.
I think that makes a lot of sense, just as overall stress management goes.
Yeah.
But if everything is at an optimal level, recovery is at an optimal level, stress levels are good, then why not push things?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. One more question I think we'll cover.
Sure.
So from James, he asks, how would you recommend a natural setup? It doesn't really matter, to be honest, training's the same. But how would you recommend someone coming out of a deficit, after a prep, how would you set up their training initially when they sort of come out of a prep phase, considering, you know, let's say they got into prime contest condition, how would we exit a prep phase in terms of training?
Well, considering that the prep was potentially very long, you're very fatigued, bringing calories back up to maintenance or into a slight surplus, trying to gain some body fat so you just feel better overall, and get hormones back to where they should be. I mean, that takes about 3 to 6 months, but still trying to ignite that process as fast as possible is probably good. As far as training goes, I would stay on the conservative side, between just hammering volume. At that point, it won't do you that much good, because it's not like for a natural there's a big rebound or anything. You're not growing. It's not like you're all of a sudden you're this turning into this monster again.
There's the big difference between natural and enhanced. If you're enhanced, you have a rebound like that, but it also it's pretty challenging to keep that in range, because it also hinders in training.
Yeah.
If you're having like from one set of chest presses, you have a pump like nothing. You can't progress your lifts.
Yeah.
So I would take training a little bit on the volume side and not going too heavy in the loading. Because as you said, the prep is really long, but that's the difference, I think. In natural and enhanced bodybuilding.
I mean, after a long prep, you're also more prone to injury probably. Because just fatigue is chronically high.
Oh yeah.
And you have to be careful with training in that time period.
Yeah. I think to sort of back up that point, when you initially exit a prep phase, you're going to be very confident in your ability to get back into the gym. You're going to feel like superhuman.
Yeah.
So you're going to feel like you can go and deadlift what you were deadlifting in the off season. Like you might feel like that.
Yeah.
For a moment in time when you eat your pre-workout meal.
You're not there.
You are not there.
Yeah.
You're there if you want to ruin the rest of your off season.
Yeah.
And really fuck up your back.
Yes.
But yeah, I think reintroducing compounds at a nice steady pace is probably key. Like I didn't squat for the large part of my last bit of the prep. I was just hacking, and then when I got out, I was like, right, squat, let's go. And I introduced like a low bar back squat pretty fast. And yeah, my forearms, my neck, and my wrists and elbows were all screwed up within a month.
Sure.
So yeah, just be very, very cautious on that front. Don't program your training on the grounds of how you feel. You know, program it sensibly. Stick with a lot of the movements you've been doing in your prep, and just take the extra calories and look to progress them. I think that's what I do differently next time.
Keep it simple. Just because you eat a bunch of more calories, shouldn't be too euphoric about your training, because you're still the same.
Yes.
You're still the same. You're just a tiny bit fatter.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
But you're not more muscular. Your central nervous system is not more primed or anything.
Yeah.
So stay on the conservative side.
Yeah.
Definitely. Sure.
And don't waste that period of time as well, like not from a training point of view, but from a nutritional and a body composition point of view. You can quite easily piss away your time exiting a prep. You know, there is no rebound, but in the same limelight, you are in actually a prime position to grow because your body fat levels are low, and you've got this now new ability to increase input through nutrition, drop output through cardio, and you will definitely gain tissue. You'll also regain tissue that you've lost.
Definitely.
Gain a load of body fat, and you've just suddenly made that process probably a little bit harder. And subsequently, in the mirror, you're going to be pretty fucking upset with what you see. Your motivation to train is going to go down, and you're probably going to end up not lifting for a good few months, which you see with a lot of competitors.
Yes.
They go from extremely highly motivated to pretty much not training within a flick of a show day, and that's upsetting. Yeah, I think we've pretty much covered all points on that one.
Yeah.
Cool. Is there anything else you guys wanted to sort of discuss or chat about? I think we've got a good half an hour here. I think we're running out of time anyway. Let's wrap it up. Let's wrap it up before we die.
Okay.
So yeah, thanks very much, guys,
Thanks, man.
for helping record this. And yeah, any sort of questions off the back of the questions that we sort of put out today, please ask. And chat soon. Cheers, guys.